changes over time. Political parties change. My party's changing. So is the Democratic Party. And there is a wing of the Democratic Party, I call it the socialist wing. Some less charitable people call it the loon wing of the Democratic Party. And they are in charge right now. And the non-loon, non-socialist Democrats are scared to death of them. And this particular wing of the Democratic Party that's in the ascendancy, what do they believe? They try to out-weird each other all the time. They hate, if you listen to them, they hate Thomas Jefferson. They hate Abraham Lincoln. They hate George Washington. They hate Dr. Seuss. They hate Mr. Potato Head. They think our kids should be able to change genders back and forth at recess. Kids. And if it's their preference, should be able to undergo sex change operations while minors paid by you, the taxpayers. They believe that. They believe in open borders. They believe that if you support the law.
Folks, what you just heard from Senator John Kennedy isn't just a Senate speech, it's a warning. Washington is about to slam the brakes on your government, not because of policy, but because of politics. The Democrats are holding America hostage, demanding trillions more in spending while calling it compassion. But make no mistake, this isn't compassion. It's control. Tonight, we're breaking down why Kennedy says the shutdown is proof that human evolution, at least in Washington, has been a slow, painful process. Stay tuned, patriots, because this one's going to open your eyes.
Mr. President.
The senator from Louisiana.
Well, Mr. President, it looks like we're going to have a shutdown. What does that tell us? I'll tell you what it tells me. It's simply that much more evidence that human evolution is a slow process. I thought humans had advanced more as a species, but apparently we haven't. What do I mean by a shutdown? Well, we can't keep government open without a budget. And tonight at midnight, our current budget expires unless we vote to maintain the status quo and continue the current budget as we negotiate a new one. Many of my Democratic friends say, well, what's the problem? The Republicans are in charge. The president's a Republican, and the Republicans have a majority in the Senate, and the Republicans have a majority in the House. What's the problem? They know what the problem is. We can't pass a budget. We can't keep government open just with Republican votes here in the Senate. We only have 53 Republicans. We need 7 Democrats to join with us. So for my Democratic colleagues to say, well, the Republicans are in charge and they don't need us, they know that's not accurate. And that's what's going on. Now, we've had a few shutdowns before, and every shutdown is different, but most shutdowns are a combination of both policy and politics in varying degrees. This shutdown, in terms of policy, makes absolutely no sense. None. What we have proposed to our Democratic colleagues and the minority leader, Senator Schumer, is to make no changes to the current budget. We just want to continue the current budget and keep government open until just before Thanksgiving to give us more time to negotiate a permanent budget. We did that many times when President Biden was president. and when the Democrats had the majority. In fact, we did it 13 times. Not only have Republicans done it, but Democrats have routinely done it. But this time, the Democrats have said, no, 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 no. We want more. And you may be thinking, okay, that's reasonable. What do you want? Well, it's not reasonable. In effect, what the Democrats are saying to us is that we're going to close government unless you Republicans agree to make it bigger. We don't want the status quo. We want you to commit to spending $1.5 trillion more than you're spending now. And we, the Democrats are saying, are going to tell you how to spend it. First, they want us to repeal all of the Medicaid reforms that we did in the reconciliation bill. Some call it the One Big Beautiful Bill. The One Big Beautiful Bill would not reduce Medicaid. In fact, it would go up about 2% every year as a result of our bill. But it would say to people who are on Medicaid, who aren't eligible for Medicaid, that you're not going to get Medicaid anymore. Dual eligibles, people who sign up in Louisiana and Mississippi, that's fraud. Under our bill, they would be thrown off. The Democrats want them put back on. Under our changes in the One Big Beautiful Bill that the Democrats want us to reverse, you would have to satisfy certain income levels to be on Medicaid. The law says if you make too much money, you can't get Medicaid because Medicaid is for the poor. In my state, we have found people through audits making $120,000 a year on Medicaid. So our bill, which the Democrats want us to repeal after just passing it, would say to those people that if you don't meet the income limits, you can't get Medicaid. So that's the first demand of the Democrats. Take out all the reforms that we made to Medicaid in the reconciliation bill and throw them out the window. Number two, they want to extend the Obamacare subsidies. What does that mean? Well, first let me say Obamacare was a mistake, and we know that now. When President Obama passed Obamacare, we were told that our lives would be better. Our lives have been worse. We were told that it would make health insurance more accessible and more affordable. It's done neither. On the non-Medicaid part of Obamacare, we've got, 25 million Americans who are accessing it. And for the most part, about 90% of them are low-income Americans. But the rest are making huge sums of money. Some are making $160,000 a year getting Obamacare subsidized by taxpayers. And that's not the way it was supposed to be. How did we get here? Well, it's simple. During the pandemic, when people were being laid off or losing their jobs or couldn't work, President Biden rammed through a bill to enlarge the subsidies. He took the cap off the amount that you needed to earn in order to get Obamacare. And those subsidies at the end of this year are about to run out. Now, the Republicans have said, we'll sit down with our Democratic friends and talk about how to extend them, but we want to reform the program because it's not right that people making $125,000, $150,000, $250,000, $200,000 a year are getting their health insurance subsidized by the federal government. That's bone deep down to the mayor stupid. But the Democrats, Senator Schumer and his colleagues, have said, nope, we will shut government down unless you agree automatically to extend these subsidies, which were passed during the pandemic, after the pandemic is over, permanently. And that's just some of my colleagues' demands. I mean, you need You need an Excel spreadsheet to be able to follow their demands. Their demands to keep government open, you stack them here, you could stand on them and paint the ceiling. And that's not much of an exaggeration. And when Senator Schumer announced these demands, that's when I knew. I knew it in a nanosecond. We're going to have a shutdown. Because my colleagues, my Democratic colleagues, are very smart people. And Senator Schumer is a smart person. And he knew when he announced these demands that I could tell he wasn't serious. He knew they were unserious. And he knew that neither the president nor the other members of Congress were going to accept them. And you know what? Many Democrats know they're unreasonable as well. So that's why I say the policy part of this makes absolutely no sense. And that's because this isn't about policy. This shutdown is about politics. Now, parties change, just like the human experience changes over time. Political parties change. My party's changing. So is the Democratic Party. And there is a wing of the Democratic Party, I call it the socialist wing. Some less charitable people call it the loon wing of the Democratic Party. And they are in charge right now. And the non-loon, non-socialist Democrats are scared to death of them. And this particular wing of the Democratic Party that's in the ascendancy, what do they believe? They try to out-weird each other all the time. They hate, if you listen to them, they hate Thomas Jefferson. They hate Abraham Lincoln. They hate George Washington. They hate Dr. Seuss. They hate Mr. Potato Head. They think our kids should be able to change genders back and forth at recess. Kids. And if it's their preference, should be able to undergo sex change operations while minors paid by you, the taxpayers. They believe that. They believe in open borders. They believe that if you support the law.
Welcome back to Illuminate, where truth still matters and common sense still has a voice. If you're tired of the mainstream media's games, hit that subscribe button and smash the like, because today, Senator John Kennedy just exposed everything wrong with Washington in one fiery speech. Now, let's get right into it. Senator Kennedy took to the Senate floor and said what millions of Americans have been thinking, that Congress isn't shutting down because of policy differences, but because of political theater. He says the Democrats are blocking a simple measure that would keep the government open until Thanksgiving. No new spending, no gimmicks, just time to negotiate a real budget. But the Democrats said no. Why? Because they want more. Kennedy revealed they're demanding $1.5 trillion in additional spending, and they want to dictate exactly how it's spent. He called it what it is, a ransom note to the American taxpayer. Let's break that down. Republicans offered to maintain the current budget, the same budget Democrats themselves voted for just months ago. But now, Senator Schumer and his left-wing allies are saying they'll shut down the government unless Republicans agree to reverse Medicaid reforms that prevent fraud, people making over $100,000 a year collecting benefits meant for the poor. Kennedy said, and I quote, "In my state, we found people making $120,000 on Medicaid. And Democrats want them put back on the rolls. Think about that. They're not fighting for the poor, they're fighting for the scam." Then comes Obamacare. Remember when we were told it would make health care affordable? Kennedy says that was a lie. He points out that during the pandemic, Biden lifted the income cap for Obamacare subsidies, and now even families making $200,000 are getting government-subsidized insurance, paid for by you. And the Democrats, they want to make those emergency measures permanent. Kennedy didn't mince words. He said these policies make absolutely no sense because this isn't about policy anymore. It's about politics. It's about power. He tore into what he calls the socialist wing of the Democratic Party, or as he jokingly called them, the loon wing. This is the faction, he says, that hates Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, and even Dr. Seuss. They're obsessed with canceling America's history, tearing down its heroes, and rewriting its values. Kennedy said this faction believes in open borders, gender transitions for kids, funded by taxpayers, and calling anyone who supports law enforcement a racist. And sadly, he says, this radical wing is running the Democratic Party right now, while the moderates sit there scared, silent, and obedient. He's right. The far left has hijacked the Democrats. What used to be the party of JFK has become the party of AOC, and now they're using shutdowns as political weapons to force their agenda on the rest of us. Kennedy asked one question that every American should be asking tonight. What happens next? If the Democrats get their way, they'll keep pushing spending until inflation crushes the middle class. If Republicans cave, the socialist wing wins. But if they don't, the government shuts down, and the media will blame conservatives. But Kennedy made something clear. Essential services will continue. Your Social Security checks, still coming. Veterans' benefits, still safe. SNAP, food stamps, mail delivery Medicare, all protected. Don't let the fearmongering fool you. He ended with a challenge to the Democrats. He quoted a Denzel Washington line. If you pray for rain, you better be prepared to deal with the mud. Kennedy warned that if Democrats cause this shutdown, they'd better be ready to own it. And that's the truth. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about keeping the government open. It's about keeping Washington's addiction to spending alive. Kennedy just reminded the country that leadership means saying no to the mob, even when the mob wears a suit and sits in the Capitol. So what do you think, patriots? Are Democrats deliberately pushing this shutdown to expand their control? Or is this just another example of Washington's arrogance catching up to itself? Let me know in the comments. If you believe in fighting back against the political insanity, hit subscribe, share this video, and help us keep spreading the light. This is Illuminate. Stay sharp, stay free, and as always, stay awake.